Guys, welcome back. Episode 2 of the Best of the Year series. We started at wedges. We're jumping straight into the big dogs now.
Absolutely. That's what people want to see.
People want to see. You want to see everything. The driver's always the sexy category. There's no doubt about it.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, but we're going to specify the performance characteristics of the driver. We're not just going for the best driver of the year. That's too general.
Very much too general, yeah. We're going to split it into two, kind of your main categories that people look at a driver for, which would be sort of game improvement or at least sort of ball flight adjustment category.
Lots of different ways for us to segue into more specific criteria. But today, like we said, this is all about the slicers.
Yeah, someone that hits a bit of a fade or an over fade at times, probably looking for more distance, probably looking for offsetting of the start line, and probably looking for some forgiveness too.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're out there, you've got the kind of out to in motion, maybe you hit down on it a little bit, you have a hard time maintaining sort of a stable dynamic loft, stable strike point. Those are two of the main things that cause excess spin, leakage in ball speed, all that sort of stuff. So we are going to focus on those. So we've picked 4.
Yep.
We've got Epic Flash, the standard version.
Yep.
We went with M6 Draw D-Type.
D-Type M6.
Yep. We went with G410 SFT, straight flight technology, which has the one weight port in the heel. Yep. And we've also went with probably not one that naturally lives in this category. We went with TS2. The reason we went with TS2 in there as well is because I think some people will look at that driver and think, okay, you've got TS3, which is adjustable.
Yes.
I mean, to be honest, maybe TS1 would fit into this category a little bit more.
It probably would, but I think that the only thing with TS1 is it being more of a light story, I guess, more of a speed story. This is probably more commonly, I'm speaking for Titleist, but I feel like more people fit into this than TS1.
Oh, by far. By far. Okay. So I think TS2 is in there because a lot of you guys will be wondering how that relates to the draw bias drivers. TS3 is clearly not.
No, clearly not.
Based or kind of designed for that player.
And also, if this turns out to be a bit more neutral, maybe a little bit less draw bias, then maybe it just suits the person watching that isn't that extreme with the fade. Maybe they just have a little fade. Exactly. Correct.
So we've got those 4.
Yeah.
Now, we've kind of asked you to modify the delivery slightly.
Yeah, we're going to go with what we believe to be sort of a common delivery. Ball speeds, hopefully in the 140s would be good.
That would be good.
We want to be out to in at least 5-6 degrees, something like that. And we want to obviously, the face angle relationship is going to be open to the target.
Yep. So the average male golfer out there is about 140 on ball speed.
Perfect.
Okay, so if we're there or slightly above, we're fitting into a slightly bigger sort of grouping 100%. Where you normally obviously sit with the driver. So I think that'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I want to see how those perform kind of at that level so people can see what to get.
Right, what we starting with?
Let's do Epic Flash first.
Epic Flash.
It's built up and ready.
Okay. That's nice.
That felt like it was a little more on the toe.
Could hear that actually a little bit, Matty.
So maybe that's where you get the extra yards from?
Yeah, the spin will be down a little bit on that one. 27. Yep, there you go. Yeah, that's nice.
Probably a little higher on the face.
Okay, so into our first of 2. We've got 2 drivers in this category which are designated draw bias drivers. This one and the ping. So let's start with the M6 here.
Okay. Yeah, it sits a little bit more closed than the Flash does.
Yeah. So we get that internal weighting in the heel, as does the ping. Carrying a little spin on that one. Quite a good flight though.
That's nice looking, isn't it? Yeah.
That's nice. That's another really good one.
Yeah.
All right. Nice performance there by the M6.
It was very good.
Very good. So the ping has got a little bit of work to do to keep up.
Agree. Okay.
All right.
So we got weight in the heel here, and the face has been adjusted closed.
It has been adjusted closed, so it turns the loft up a little bit. We know that.
Yep. Same with the other ones, obviously.
Yep, same with the other ones. Okay.
I think the great thing about this is for what that swing felt like, for me felt like essentially trying to curve the ball way left to see it basically just go dead straight on the start line.
Yep.
It's a big adjustment it's making.
That's really nice.
I think this is where Brandon and I were just saying, the argument towards when do you decide your swing is actually quite consistent, and if you want to adjust out a bit of curvature, use the club for it, because the person that's 4 or 5 degrees in and out every single time and the face is just a bit open, if they've got the right driver in their hands, it becomes just a straight ball.
Yeah.
It basically is just like, why are you bothering to try to hit a draw or something?
I mean, that's it. And you know, why, so if you're 4 degrees out to win and somebody kind of, or you designate yourself as a chop slicer.
Yeah.
Well, just buy a driver that fixes it.
Seriously.
You will enjoy yourself instantly and more, rather than going and grinding over lessons. And some people just don't have the time for that. But there's such an instant fix.
It's a massive instant improvement. Yeah. No, I agree.
And the asterisk against that, Matty, that's another great swing. The asterisk against that is if you can do it consistently.
Yeah, for sure.
If you cannot do it consistently, by all means, you have to go and try to find a way to do it more consistently.
Totally agree. But it's just that, don't look at a fade swing and say that's bad and a draw is good, because I can promise you that being too far from the inside isn't a lot of fun either.
So true. That was a slower swing. Just just from what I could see.
Just a bit.
But really, really good results in this one. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's very consistent.
This is 5 absolute perfect shots.
Okay, ping. This one sits a bit closed.
Does it?
Yep.
Okay. So this one to your eye sits probably the most closed so far.
I think so. Yeah.
This would be interesting.
Which is interesting, right? It probably isn't internally weighted the way the other ones are, but the face closure.
Well, that would tell me, I would expect this one then, if you see that, based on what we know about this head, this one probably should be the lowest flighted, probably lowest spin one of the bunch.
Gotcha.
Because if you've got that path consistently 4 or 5 out to in, and that face is closing more, we know it's not a high spin head. There's only a 2 or 3 100 RPM difference between this and the TS3.
Right.
It should be pretty flat.
So you could be producing some of your longer. Spin reduction is huge, obviously, when someone comes in hitting fades.
Now remember though, when it comes to spin axis control, we want a little bit more spin to stop the curvature.
So we don't want to spin at 2,000.
No, you don't. For somebody who's kind of generally a slicer, we don't want them spinning it at like 1900.
Yeah, I'm glad I know you've told me that before, but I literally forgot it in this context. I'm thinking, okay, how can I hit it further?
Because looking at that table so far, I'm looking at it going, okay, something that spins on average at 2500, that's 25, 26, 27, 28, right. Those are great.
So get it under 3000, but then let it be there. Okay. All right. I think he called it. That's definitely lower.
Yeah, little flat one straight out of the gate. That's a really nice flight. Oh, spinny that one.
A little bit. That was good.
Okay, one more.
It's nice, this one so far.
Captain consistency with this one as well.
It's nice, yeah.
Okay, anti-slice driver test in the bag. Good little test that.
I think it was.
I thought that was really, really good. I think there's some interesting little findings from that. I think what was really interesting was how good you were at 102 miles an hour club speed.
The ball's going pretty straight. There was definitely more consistency than I'm used to.
No, and I think it's going to be really good for a lot of people to go, okay, when I see, that path quite a lot out to end. It's not like we're neutral here.
No, it's a good 6 degrees, right? It's a lot.
We're managing that. We've set the drivers up to counter that, so we're getting them to go pretty neutral. You can see the sort of glance and blow up there. Some really interesting sort of dynamic lie angle readings, some very different ones, especially from the Titleist was really toe up.
So it's draw bias in sort of a sneaky way, kind of like we saw with the Honma driver.
The
face
similar
angle and the lie angle were making the ball start right.
Yeah, well, the TS2, like we said, it probably didn't naturally fit into this category, but we thought it might be interesting to pop it in there so people can see. It was the one when you put it down, you went, wow, that looks the most closed.
Yeah, definitely.
And that turned out to be the case. So if we look at the delivery numbers, the face was the most closed with that one, the least open.
Yep.
The dynamic lie angle was the most toe up. And then as a result, it was, I think it might have been second most accurate behind the ping was the most.
Yeah, in terms of dispersion, for sure.
In terms of dispersion, the ping really had a lot of face correction. If we're just going to isolate those two for now. So the TS2 was very neutral, lovely little fades. The ping was almost a bit pulley.
Yeah, it actually started down the right side, which for some people may be ideal.
Yeah, so it had a little bit more help.
So this TS2 is not a bad investment, especially if you're working on your swing, because yes, the way we've set it up is super draw bias for this head. Yeah. But you could neutralize it. You can in fact go open if you want to.
Well, that's a topic when it comes down to this as well, because we've got M6 draw type. Yeah. We've got G410 SFT, both of which are draw bias drivers.
Yeah, they always will be.
And they always will be. There's nothing else we can do about that. The other two are kind of built to be draw bias drivers, but they can also be more fade bias drivers as well.
Especially this, because you can move the weight into fade.
You can set the head open.
And the face open. And this one you can go, I guess you can go flat lie angle and open
a bit
face.
Open, yeah.
So it's going to depend. I mean, needless to say, these are probably best if you have the biggest slice. But if you think you're going to work on it and you want to work on it, then you may want to shy away from those just because you may cost yourself $600 in a year, right?
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think it's so good to see as well that ultimately what it comes down to is face angle will dictate, obviously, the launch conditions and also the launch direction and also the launch conditions. So by getting that face a little more closed, brings the launch down, the spin into a really nice window. And we were chatting through the video there. We're not looking for the lowest spin we can get.
No.
Because we're trying to control an aggressive shape, in this case, kind of right to left. So we want it to be a fairly neutral spin rate. 2,500 would be perfect.
Yeah, and that's dispelling the myth that lower backspin is going to eliminate side spin. Lower backspin is going to make spin axis worse. Basically.
So basically, more vertical spin will stabilize the spin axis tilt.
So that it doesn't tilt left and right.
Correct. The more spin we take off of the golf ball, the easier it is for that golf ball to curve. From a distance perspective, we had a three-way tie.
Yeah.
263, 263, 263. I mean, there's 3 yards of difference between those three. I think obviously the Flash was the one that stood out. It didn't perform as good as the other ones.
Yeah, it's still good, but it seemed to spin a little bit more on certain shots. But I mean, it still did a great job, I think, of correcting the angle of the ball flight, but just not quite as well as these two did.
Had a little bit more dispersion, a little more shape, that's for sure. Not quite as much distance. Leaked a little bit of ball speed, even though it had very similar launch conditions to the ping. It did leak a little bit of ball speed. Probably we're going to say head weight is.
I was just going to ask you that. Yeah. So the G410 weighs a good 10 grams more.
Yep.
And I think that made it a little bit easier to strike it more consistently.
Yeah, so the face angle was influencing the dynamic loft to be higher. Even though you struck it actually really nicely,
better, yeah.
the higher dynamic loft from the slightly open face was contributing to a little loss of energy.
Gotcha.
That and the head weight. Any other final thoughts, Matty? Having hit them all and kind of, you know, what you had the easiest time controlling and what felt good?
I would point to these two as the most stable on miss strikes.
Okay.
So if you feel that you're someone that may stray heel and toe and high and low, those two were especially good.
All right, cool little test. We'll go into probably more of the players, drivers, and you know, we'll probably go for the anti-hook one next.
Yeah,
which ones we can
next.
set open, which ones we can put a little bit of weight out there.
I like that idea.
Maybe moving, you know, if we're thinking F9, move the CG a little closer to the face and make it a little bit more anti-hook.
Absolutely. Okay, so look for that next.
Excellent. Okay, guys, stay tuned.